greater degrees of independent progress, more autonomy, more bringing together teams fully featured than was perhaps previously the case, where you would actually have departments relying on inputs from other departments.
Productivity is a focus area for almost every competitive business in every sector. So what have you done with the Telegraph to help improve productivity?
So it's a good question. I think there are a couple of ways to answer that. If I look at the things we have done so far, it's about making sure that people have got the right tools for the job. They can work anywhere they need to. We actually are quite an office-centric organization because we believe quite strongly that people work well when they work together.
Sure.
But we've equipped people with the tools to be able to work, whether they're a journalist on assignment overseas, around the world. And that's been part of the technology solution strategy for a long time.
Yes.
So there's definitely productivity driven by enabling people with the right equipment has been part of it. Interestingly, though, as we have gone on our journey as a digital subscription business and we have enjoyed some success, recently passing 1 million subscribers.
Well done.
Well, thanks very much. We're now in a position where our ambitions just get ever bigger with every passing year. And it's not sensible or practical to just kind of scale horizontally permanently and forever as your ambitions grow. So we are evaluating ways to accelerate productivity as the ambitions get bigger.
Yes.
And actually, we've been doing things like questioning some of the assumptions that we've had in the past that have served us well around efficiency, maybe shared tech platforms for product development. That's really efficient. It's very, very good economically.
Sure.
It's helped us to get where we are now. But actually, is it now the time to start thinking about having multiple separate different technology platforms at play for product development so you can move forward on more fronts with more speed? Bit of a change to organizational approach internally with virtual teams to allow for greater degrees of independent progress, more autonomy, more bringing together teams fully featured than was perhaps previously the case, where you would actually have departments relying on inputs from other departments, try and break some of that down and virtually bring teams together that can be almost entirely self-sufficient. So some of those organizational and kind of cultural changes, I think, are going to be what unlocks the next phase of accelerated productivity here.
And do you think there's a point where pushing for more productivity and more optimization is no longer worth it, where there may be trade-offs that you don't want to make?
I think it's about pushing for the appropriate amount.
Yeah.
I think that's something that you just have to, feel the temperature of and be wise to as you progress through your kind of corporate journey and along your various stages of your strategic development. I think sometimes you hear calls for efficiency and productivity improvements, which may well cost more than they will ever return.
Yeah.
It's the idea of, spend £1 million to make a job that currently costs £10,000 a year, 10% easier. It doesn't make any sense, does it? You do sometimes see those, and use cases like that often cross my desk, but we don't really, they're easy to move on from. I think there's a question around kind of management, leadership style, and kind of command and control. I think particularly as we start to try and do more things concurrently, I think there's a need to gradually adapt to give people more autonomy, set a set of strategic goals, a strategic intent, maybe some guardrails, but become progressively more relaxed about people pursuing that in a more distributed way.
Yes.
I think that's an interesting cultural journey that companies go on. I mean, we're all always on that journey, I think, to varying degrees. And I think you can go too far and too fast with that, but equally you can also be too slow. So it's about the application of judgment.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the areas where you've used data and analytics to have more impact specifically, or where you think in the future will have greater impact?
Well, I think data is a very powerful tool, right? Not only as a means of making decisions, where self-evidently is the case, but you can also use it to reinforce your strategic goals, I believe. So if you visit our newsroom, and I know you've been here before, we have projected on the wall in huge, big custom graphical representations, 20 feet high, which carry data presented in real time, designed to be very kind of appealing and easy to understand, that show our subscription targets and the real-time pursuit of those targets, show the content being published, the scoring of that content, where subscriptions are coming from in the world. We've really used that as a way to make it clear to everybody that not only are we a subscription-first business, but we're a highly data-enabled subscription-first business. If I roll the clock back to when the Telegraph was more of an advertising business, those large projections were still there, but they tended to carry traffic numbers, audience size numbers, and metrics which are much more akin to those of a more advertising-led commercial organization.
Yeah.
And changing that has a very powerful effect. When we first took the decision to change all of those metrics to be those subscription-centric metrics, not only was it helpful, but it sent a very stark message to the whole company that this is a genuine new start. And I think the data that you put in front of people, as well as informing their decisions, also sends a message about, at a macro level, what is important. And I think that's one of the ways it can be used to really make proper transformational change.